Welcome to Thoughts in a Glass podcast. I'm LaToya.
And I'm Kendra.
And this is a weekly podcast where we share our unfiltered thoughts on a variety of topics.
So sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and join us on a Join us on a journey of real, raw, and ridiculously funny commentary.
Period.
Purr.
Every week we do a drink of the night. Kendra, what's the drink tonight?
Tonight's drink is a Red Hibiscus Rum Punch.
Mm-hmm.
The way we made this rum punch is this ingredients recipe is for two. So I did 2.5 ounces of dark rum, 2 ounces of triple sec, 1.5 ounces of pineapple juice, 1 ounce of lime juice, and 2 ounces of hibiscus syrup over ice.
Cheers.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Tasty.
It's sweet.
Now, a little knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Drop a little knowledge on y'all. So hibiscus is
what makes the drink red?
What gives it that color? What gives it the color? But hibiscus is more of a Black/African drink of sort, going back to before slavery. And so in Africa, they would celebrate different events, different holidays, things like that, with red drinks. So during the transnational slave trade and all the things, of course, we couldn't take a lot of our heritage, but a lot of people did take drinking red drinks for special holidays. Now, what makes this special-ish is because in the South, they started using it during Juneteenth. And I know Juneteenth has passed, but they also used it during the 4th of July. So we wanted to commemorate the 4th of July with not just the American stuff,
right,
but our own heritage.
Something
that kind of
gets
lost
heritage too. Yeah,
that gets lost in the sauce.
Yeah. So. I know my family will normally do sorrel during the holidays, which is a Caribbean version of hibiscus tea drink. Last summer, Chris had went to this Latin market and he had bought this drink. What's the name of the drink? Aguas Frescas. And I was like, I didn't know what it was, but it kind of reminded me of sorrel. And so when I had looked it up, it's basically the same thing, like hibiscus drink. And so when you said that this is something that was brought over with the transatlantic slave trade or something that was brought from African culture, it makes sense to me because you do see it in other parts of the diaspora where they'll make a red hibiscus drink. I don't know if in a Latin culture it's a celebratory drink, but I feel like it is because he got it from like Latin festival he was at. Yeah. That makes sense to me. I've also heard people call sorrel bissap. Have you ever heard of that? I've heard Nigerian people refer to it as bissap. Anyway, I love that when we can connect the dots. And like connect those roots, because as much as we try to, I'm not going to necessarily say we, but as much as sometimes you'll see people try to disconnect from our African ancestry and our African heritage, there is something to it. You know what I mean? And I'm one of those people who believe that not all Black people came. Well, all Black people came from Africa in a general sense, but Black Americans, I do believe that there were some indigenous people here that were Black before the slave trade, right? Yeah. But that doesn't mean that the heritage, and that doesn't mean that some of these cultural things still didn't translate. And so I love to see stuff like that. I don't know if y'all saw on TikTok the trend of people eating what they call white dirt in the South. No. You didn't see this? No. Have you ever heard of people eating cornstarch? Okay, so it's similar to that. It's basically white dirt, like almost like a clay.
I'm about to say clay.
And it has been ground down to a fine powder. And it gives you the same mouth feel and the same effect as eating cornstarch. But this thing became popular on TikTok, and a lot of people from Europe and a lot of people from Africa was chiming in saying that in Africa they do the same thing. They eat something called red clay. And I know people are like, oh, that's pika, you shouldn't be eating that stuff. But the point I'm trying to make is this. we can be kind of separated geographically, but there are still some
things ingrained
that kind of tie us back to each other, which I feel like this hibiscus drink is one of those things. Yeah. Anyway, that's my rant. How was your week? Who have you been up to?
My children made it back safely.
Amen. Amen to that's a blessing.
Always.
I haven't really been getting into much this week, but I did a couple weeks ago. I did go to the Flowers 25th anniversary Alumni Day. Yeah, y'all were out of town, but I got a little bit of a rant because I got on my shirt, and so here's my rant. I have a lot of pride in my high school, and I think a bit of that pride comes from being there when it was built and being a part of the beginning, right?
The cornerstone.
I don't think, I'm not getting the sense that a lot of people feel the same way.
So this is what I was saying. And I think that the things, and which is not a bad thing, I think you hold value to your experience. Mm-hmm. And not that high school wasn't valuable, but I'll say for me, I don't even have a lot of friends from high school. Mm-hmm. So that wasn't, that like when I look at that school, like it's cool. Oh, first 4-year class, it was hype.
Right.
But I think after, 20 years later, it's not this. I don't think you have the same experiences. Like I think that when people go to college and they have like that rebirthing of life, because that's the first time some people are on their own. You meet really like lifelong friends, this, that, and the fourth. I think in high school you are peaking to like figuring out who you are, but you don't get to. Because you're still under your parents' roof, unless you're like in activities or doing stuff part of, really in the mix of that school. It's just be a school. Unfortunately. And more often than not, people will say like, oh, when I was in college, because of the parties, there's more of a transitioning into real adulthood. There is a fondness to it. I think when you're in high school, if you're having like bad experiences at home, if your high school experience wasn't great, it just isn't as monumental.
I fear you're right. And my perspective on this is based on my personal experience and based on my own personal interest. So to give some background, right? My grandmother didn't graduate from high school. Mm-hmm. My grandfather did graduate from high school. Mm-hmm. And then when it came down to his kids, education was very important. Like we talked to my uncle a couple weeks ago, and graduated from high school was pretty much the top. You know what I'm saying? Because only one generation before, you barely got there. And then, to go to college, it was like you're doing even more than we could have ever thought of. Right. Also, additionally, my grandfather, so he went to Fairmont Heights. But I remember him telling me about his high school experience and some of the different things, not just him personally, but like the school in general. Like it transitioned, it used to be known for this, now it's known for that. So those things kind of felt, I don't want to use the word sacred, but it felt like it was a big deal, right? And then all of my mom and my aunts and them, their generation, they went to Duval. And before, when I thought I was going to go to Duval, I remember my mom telling me, oh, let me go back and see if I still know anybody. And that was kind of like a big deal for her to see teachers that were there when she was there. Granted, my mom had me super young, so she had only been out of high school for not even 20 years by the time it was time for me to go. So seeing some of her old teachers and stuff like that, that was a big deal, right? But inevitably, I didn't go to Duval. I went to Flowers. But even that experience of getting the letter in the mail saying that Flowers was going to be ready and we could go there, and we had to vote on what we wanted the school colors to be and what we wanted the mascot to be, and then I remember them sending out a letter explaining who Charles Herbert Flowers was. And that first year getting to the school, having that assembly, and him and the other Tuskegee Airmen coming there and telling us the history of like, this is what your school is named after. This is why we have the Air Force ROTC, because they were airmen and they're sponsoring the school. Like all this stuff. So yes, I agree with you. For me, it means a lot more because one, my family history, how we're connected to education, and how I guess we really reverenced institutions, educational institutions. You know what I mean? And then when I got to be a part of this school that was just being formed in my community, I felt a connection to that. Knowing Patrice and knowing that she wrote the alma mater. You know what I mean? That's somebody that I know that wrote the school song that 25 years later, people are still singing. Being there when they were like, we're going to have this competition. I don't know. That stuff is dope. That to me is a definition of literally being a part of history. Sydney graduated from Flowers, right? So for Sydney to be going to a institution that some of the things that she did in school were things that we created. You know what I mean? Like, who else can say that? And so that's important. I don't know, that's a big deal to me, but I guess it's not a big deal to other people because I was very disappointed at the turnout of the Alumni Day. So 2025 is the 20 year for 05. And y'all correct my math. It's the 10 year for 2015, right? I'm saying that right? So 05 and 15, they showed up because it's a milestone year for them. 2020, this would be their 5 year, but I think they graduated during COVID. So I think they didn't really have the best ending of their high school. So it may not feel as big. And those kids are probably just graduating from college now. So they all may be kind of busy. And so 05 and 15 showed up. But even I was even a little disappointed in that because I'm like, these are milestone years for y'all. So it should be more than 20 people here. Maybe my expectations was too high. And one of the organizers told me when we checked in, she was like, we sold 200 tickets. And less than 90 people have come through. And the event was from 1 to 6. Me and Sydney got there late because it was also bad weather that day, which may have been one of the...
especially if somebody bought tickets, it was probably because a lot of it is the weather.
But they moved it indoors because at first it was going to be outside on the field, but then they moved it indoors, and they did advertise that they had moved it indoors. So I don't, but I guess just to me, I felt like this. For it to be 25 years that the school has been built, and this is an alumni event for everybody who ever graduated the school, I was expecting it to be a bigger turnout than what it was. And then when I heard that they had sold 200 tickets, that also made me feel like, so y'all were interested, y'all just didn't show up.
Possibly you could have the best of intentions, weather may be a thing, other things come up, because I think now, and I'll just say this too, like we're almost 40. And unfortunately, a lot of people in our class, they not doing the best.
Nope. By the time I had got there at 3:00, nobody from 04 was, so what they did was they had a sign in. So they had all the years from 03 to 2024, to 2025. And they had a little sign up sheet for every year. So you find your year and you sign in. And that's how I know what years showed up, because you could see it. When I got there, I was the only person from 04. There were about 5, maybe 6 people from 03 that had signed. Quite a few of the years didn't have anybody show up. 07, 08, I think 2011. Some of the years, nobody showed up.
Because I'm gonna just be honest with you. Outside of 04, everything else is a blur to me.
Well, yeah, for us, but those people that did graduate in 08, y'all don't feel that. Y'all don't feel a connection to them. My school been around for 25 years. That's a big deal.
Yeah, people don't go to Fairmont Heights. People don't do those. Like
So I feel like those, I get it, because let's say Fairmont Heights is 100 years old. I can understand.
Because nobody's 100.
Because, you know what I'm saying? But we're young.
Beginning.
We were there, even in the middle, right? Even if you're somebody who graduated in 2019, you still were a part of the first 20 years of this school. You know what I mean? I don't get it. So Sydney was having the same experience because she graduated in 21. She was having the same experience. She was like, I'm surprised more people aren't here. She was like, because she was like, especially for us, she was like, a majority of high school was virtual. She was like, so for me, I was excited to actually just be in the building again, because she was like, my 12th grade year was virtual. I didn't step foot in this building. And even graduation, they did do graduation, but it was at the Comcast Center. So she was like, I haven't been in here in so many years. And she was like, I would think people would want to come back just to be like,
I don't think people have their different high school experiences. People have moved away.
That's true.
We always have like this sense, and I'm not even on Facebook.
True.
So I would have absolutely no idea what the hell's going on unless outside of you telling me.
So this is my question. For stuff like this, I feel that maybe it was a marketing thing. One, how do you market for stuff like this? And two, when it comes to a school, I feel like what happened to the community? Because more often than not, all of these housing complexes and townhouses and this around the school, those people, their kids go there or have gone there. So if you live right across the street, what was your excuse for not coming across the street to the Alumni Day? There was music, there was food, there was activities for the kids, there was...
Because I'll say, I know most of that development wasn't developed when we were in school.
Correct, but
the school now.
The school been around for 25 years. So even if the development was built 10 years ago, if you have children that were high school age, they probably went there because that's their neighborhood school.
Unless they moved.
So how do you market?
I think that if they had, first of all, you should need to reach out to the people that are on multiple streams of social media that have a large population of people from their class. So for example, if they had asked Patrice, hey, can you put this on your story or you at least post it, I more than likely would have seen that. Yeah. Because I'll see her stuff on Instagram. I think people that still listen to the radio, you say something at the radio station, like, hey, all the Flowers alums, da 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 da. I think that there are ways to do it outside of Facebook. Is not going to get you to your entire market.
I agree with that.
So it would be reaching out to the people who can give you more stuff.
Yeah, well, y'all missed a good time. It would have been better for more people. I know you would have went out. And I was telling my homeboy Sean about it too. By the time I told him, he had already had something to do that weekend. But he said the same thing. He was like, if I had known earlier, I wouldn't have made plans this weekend and I would have went. But, so I guess it boiled down to a marketing thing. But I don't know.
I keep saying that. I keep missing stuff. Like, dang, should I get back on Facebook? Because even when
you should, just for events, just alert.
I know, and because like when cruises,
y'all sleep on Facebook, but I use it as a resource because a lot of events get posted on there, and a lot of networking things get posted on there. It's hard to network on TikTok and Instagram. So anyway, that was just my little rant about that. Sorry if you didn't go to Flowers and I took up a whole lot of time.
Sorry for that, man.
So this week we have 4th of July coming up. Do you have any plans?
No. Oh, so we haven't. So his family's having a cookout in South Carolina.
So y'all going back down there?
So we went to North Carolina, which is not as fun.
Oh, okay.
But still kind of like on the fence.
You don't know if you want to go. When you gonna decide? It's
Friday, ain't it?
I feel that though. I don't have any plans either, but it's only because I might go sneak and see Beyonce. And look, I might wake up Friday morning and be like, let me look on StubHub and see
what they talking about. It's another one that has like cheap tickets.
What?
Day of tickets.
What's it called?
I gotta think of the name of it.
Okay.
But then you can go like the day of, see what like tickets are left.
So that's honestly where my head is at. So I purposefully didn't make any plans because I knew I might try to go do that. I don't know what my family's doing. I know my uncle was saying he wanted to do a pool party at his house. Guess if I don't go see Beyonce, I'll be at his house. I know. It's the second one you'll miss if you go out of town. Yeah. So I want to talk about that, like you were talking about earlier, the drink. We had Juneteenth recently. We have Independence Day coming up. And we also could be going to war with Iran. I have been thinking about this question of like, what does it mean to be free?
Child.
Like when we talk about independence, what does that really mean? We don't have none. Yeah, say more.
To be free is to be able to make decisions in which there aren't already consequences. And what I'm saying is, in not the best way, you can make a decision, but there's already so many things up against you that no matter what decision you make, you still kind of
it's consequences either way. Yeah.
And so when you're independent, it seems like you can make decisions and it only will affect you. And right now we are in this space where nothing that we do or nothing that's happening to us all of the time is because of us.
Absolutely.
And so to be in that space is basically you're still enslaved with instead of being enslaved in a cement box, you're enslaved in a glass house. And nothing changes except the purview on what you can see more, but still can't do anything about it. I feel like that's what we're in. And we keep saying, oh, we can see that things can change. We can make these changes. But if you're still in that, you still are constricted by boundaries. You're still constricted by walls. You can see all you want to see. That does not mean that your situation will change. Now, there are some people that break a ceiling, but then I feel like you're in a glass house inside of a glass dome. So you can go a little bit, but you're never going to go any further than somebody else will allow you to go.
Yeah. That's so real. That's so real. I sometimes think about what our ancestors had to endure and kind of like where we are now. I do feel like we're so much further along. You were saying your grandmother was a sharecropper. And so for her to kind of see how far your mom was able to go versus how far you're able to go versus, if she continues to live, seeing how far like Janae and London and that generation is able to go. It's probably much further than she ever could have fathomed for herself as a sharecropper, right? But then there is, like you said, this piece of feeling like you're still under a dome. We done made it out the box. We done made it out the house, but now we have to make it out the dome.
It's like you can't just live and figure things out. All right, you're in the house. Now slavery is done. But now we have you as a sharecropper and we have segregation and we have this, and now you have to fight through. It's every step you have to fight through something in which to truly be free is like Caucasian people can just live their life. They just live in the unawareness of what's around them and the sacrifices that other people make. And we are constantly reminded of, don't do that because of the sacrifices, and don't do this because of the sacrifices, and be appreciative of this because we didn't have. And people don't realize that puts folks in the box of either you have to strive for all the way over here, or you're not doing it. Oh, well, you should do more because they didn't even have it. And it's like, but I also don't feel like it. And I also am happy with and where I am. I don't think everybody doesn't want to be the next. They just want to be who they are. And the problem with that is being who you are keeps you in that box. And it's not you're not happy there. You see all the things that you can do, but it's like trying to break through something, the effort that it takes, the exhaustion of it. And then when you finally get through that space, you old and you die.
Do you feel like as Black people, we have a responsibility to lead in the fight to push freedom forward?
We are never going to be free. I think the hard truth of it is, and I think people have, especially older people, have come to the realization like, and I said this about Juneteenth last year, don't nickel and dime me. Don't give me something just to say you gave me something. Like, we're celebrating you being able to trick people into staying in work for you for another season. I don't want to, like, why are we celebrating y'all fucking mind games?
Yeah.
Why are we celebrating the fact that you pulled the wool over our ancestors' eyes, and that, oh, now everybody's free? No, that's a bull. Like, that's crazy work. So it's basically celebrating the fact that you was able to get a whole nother season out of some black folk.
Right.
Inevitably. That's literally what it is. We have never, even in that was when Texas, but people was in the 1970s was like, no, in the deep South there were still slaves.
Yeah.
So let's stop, like, cut it out.
Yeah.
Cut it out. We are slaves for work. We are slaves. It's like the fact that, and somebody else brought this up, the fact that white people left England because they didn't want taxes, and now everything is taxed, doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
To the point where you have pre-taxes on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You have taxes on your property. If in Virginia you have, like, for Maryland, of course, like housing, developmental taxes, state taxes, government taxes, clothes taxes, food tax, this tax, that tax. I'm like, cut it out.
Yeah.
That's not a level of freedom. And then, like, even agriculture, you give us bullshit ass soil that you built these houses on. And then when you do have anything, oh, well, you need to pay taxes on, how many plants you grow or what kind of space you have, and this and that. You can't even just, if you decide to live off the grid or do this, that, and forth, when you buy your home, that space should be yours.
Mm-hmm.
That's your home.
Yeah, no, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
There is a school of thought further to what you're saying, that as black people, we will never be free, and that there is a responsibility for every black generation to fight for to kind of break through that next step. Meaning, like, you had your Martin Luther King's, or like you had your Frederick Douglass's and Nat Turner's, right? And Harriet Tubman's, and then you have your Martin Luther King's, and then you have, so like every kind of generation you have. I'm naming these people, but they represent like a mindset, right? You had this mindset of, how can we go further? How can we push for more? How can we get more? And now you're starting to see some people feel like, I'm not doing all that. Like, it's not my responsibility to push the race further. But then you have some people who feel like, it is our responsibility.
You know whose responsibility for things to change? It's fucking white people, because they're the only people that can control who is and is not enslaved.
True, but they're not incentivized to change, right? Because the way things are now, it benefits them.
But that's what I'm saying. No matter what we do, there's always going to be, like, if they're going to do things to be to benefit them, the people's mindsets, and so that's where the people that need to call for change or make change are the same people that they look like.
Mm-hmm.
We're asking for change because it's affecting us.
Right.
The people that need to be like, nah, that's not right. This needs to change. We need to stand up for it's the same color people that's doing it to you.
Yeah. But if we don't, I guess, why would they say anything? So, for example, if you and me are working in the same environment, and you know that you can talk to the manager and kind of persuade him. And I'm not complaining about my work environment, but you see that I got a fucked up chair, my computer's broken, whatever, but your stuff is fine. And we're working, we're getting our work done. If I'm not saying nothing, what would cause you to be like, let me go talk to the boss, because LaToya's desk, she need better stuff.
The thing is, right is right.
Correct, but
if you this is what
so you're saying they should just see our situation, know that it's fucked up, and say something.
The mindset has to change.
Yeah,
it would be the same thing as, I'm gonna say this: if my child comes to me and like, Mom, I just didn't like that, this, that, and the fourth, and so because it's affecting them. Well, you don't like that because it's affecting you. if another adult or my husband says, you know what you just did was, you know, whatever, I want to look at things differently because now we're on the same level. Mm-hmm. If I have the bosses in, I'm like, that's her stuff is not right, and mine looks fine. Let me go and talk to them because it's just not right.
Yeah.
So you can't. I'm an ally. I'm with y'all. This, that, and the fourth. No, put yourself in the same room as them people. If you telling me it's two mega millionaires in the same room, and he like, no, what you're doing is terrible. You're a terrible person. This, that, and the fourth. He's gonna look at, and it's multiple people doing the same thing. They'll look at things differently because now it's affecting them at the same level. Mm-hmm. If it ain't affecting me at my same level, I don't care.
Well, and that's the whole tea, right? It's like they don't care because it doesn't affect them.
But that's what I'm saying. So when you have someone that's like, the mindset is different on the space of, you know what? No, this ain't right. It don't affect me, but I know in my heart of hearts, this not right. Somebody across the street getting beat don't affect you, but then you want to step in because you know it's not right. If you see a woman getting hurt, you go home. That don't affect your bottom line. That don't affect your job, but you know it's not right. So you step in. Why is it different when you are talking about people of color? Now all of a sudden it's like, well, that ain't my business.
Do you think
you stay in my business when I'm at the store?
That's true. But do you think that it, for Black people, right, it doesn't benefit us to wait for their mindset to change?
No, but then that's what happens is, and this is why I always I feel how I feel. I think there needs to be some segregation. Mm. Because if you're not going to change, what happens when we do this all the time? Oh, you're not going to change? You're not going to be a better person? I'm gonna leave you where you at. Mm-hmm. Leave their asses where they at. Mm-hmm. I just don't be understanding. It's like, we have this thing of, we feel like everybody needs to be at the cookout. We need to be invited to stuff. And we have this ingrained in us, especially from slavery, of we want to be in the house. We want to have this. We want to have that. The fact that, especially now, more often, now that Black women are kind of, especially, getting to the mindset, I don't need to be in there. Mm-hmm. I'm going to just create my own. Mm-hmm. Now we a problem because we create our own. But we had families, and men also was like, you're right, babe, we're going to create our own. The unfortunate part is we've gotten the memo. Yep. I'm going to just do my own thing. Yep. I'm a vacation. I'm going to live my life. I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm creating my own table. Because we're willing to do that, not just with our own people, but with everybody. Our own people are like, well, wait, don't leave us. You know, what you bring up? What are you talking about? Right. Now you're trying to be bigger and better than, y'all want to assimilate to wanting to be a part of something. Mm-hmm. We have gotten the memo. Y'all don't want us. We are cool. We hit the, yeah, I'm going to hang out with my homegirls. Right. I'm a fool la la over here. And the fact that, the biggest issue, the fact that we happy. Mm-hmm. What?
Yeah, what's going on?
How are you happy?
I honestly think that that's the quiet part out loud, is that when we were unhappy, when we were in distress and, you know, feeling that pressure of being oppressed, I think that those people, that made them comfortable. Like, they over there, they're struggling, they stuck. Yeah, and so I could do me and I don't have to worry about it. But now that we are starting to, you be like, you know what? Let's kind of back away from that and find that joy and figure out how to kind of navigate the space that we're in. Now it's like, oh, we need to figure out what they're doing and why they're doing that.
And how you happy? Okay, so now, you know, there are Black doctors. I could just go to the Black doctor. Mm-hmm. I don't have to deal with that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't have to deal with this, that, and the fourth. It's like, oh wait, no. So no, we can't we can't have that. We can't have any kind of coming together. I would just be honest. A lot of this is what the uproar is going on with the Latino community. Mm-hmm. Let's break up the people that feel like they're legal, mm-hmm. and let's like we're going
cause that divide.
So I think it's the same divide as, oh, you light skinned and you dark skinned, so let's cause that divide. That once that started to become like, I'm not with, like, now ain't nobody kind of with that you don't hear as, it's there but you don't have as much of it.
I think the bigger issue, and we don't gotta get deep into this because that could be a long conversation, but the bigger issue is that there is benefit for some people to play into social hierarchies.
Yeah.
I feel like you said, like, when we as Black people disassociate from being a part of this white supremacist structure, the structure can't survive without us being on the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if we stop wanting to be a part of their game, now, okay, you don't have to give a fuck about Black people. We're not trying to be you.
Yeah.
We're not trying to get into your establishment. We're not trying to.
We create our own.
And now it becomes, oh, well, then who am I better than if I'm not better than y'all? Like, you know what I'm saying? Who am I more supreme? In order to be supreme, in order to have supremacy, you have to have people beneath you. If we stop feeding into their structure, then they can consider us beneath them, but we're not feeding into the structure. So it's almost like it's almost like me saying, I'm a manager of Bank of America, but nobody at Bank of America acknowledges me as a manager. And
so
when
just another employee.
And when I walk in, they're like, we don't even know who you are. And I'm telling people I'm the manager. Like, so that's kind of what it takes away the power. It takes away, and for them, right, they benefit from that structure. They benefit from that hierarchy. So yes, it's an issue when they see us pulling away from it, because now I don't, you know what I mean? Like you always say, sometimes you have to face the reality of your situation. And so when you look at that truth, it's almost like I lose my identity when you don't play into the game. I can't be a white supremacist if I don't have nobody to be supreme over. And that I feel like is dismantling for a lot of people, which is why they don't want to let us go. They don't want us to not feel oppressed.
So, free-ish is what we're going to call Independence Day. Free to the second power.
Yeah. And I think that shows up in a lot of places. I think that shows up financially. I think that shows up emotionally, spiritually, sexually. Like having that structure of some kind of ladder, power, basically. Like a power dynamic. Exactly. How can you be free when you're on the bottom?
It goes to everything. When women start having autonomy over their bodies, I don't care about you calling me a slut. Like, that becomes no longer a thing. So now it's like, what we gonna do? You know, and you know, people out here pop locking and dropping. They, like, the stuff, you can't hold certain things over someone when they no longer subscribe.
Yeah,
not subscribing to Christianity. It's like, you can't hold up. Oh, you can't do that. I'm gonna do what I want. Like, you can't hold me to not going. Now I have my own relationship. When you start dismantling yourself from the power, everything is about the church power structure, the job power structure. This is not for me. I'm gonna create my own. And because now people are willing to, I think we played a very quiet game, and we did it the right way. I'm gonna say Black women, and this is what I say to people all the time, especially guys that I've dated. And I'm like, you have got to play the game, and playing the game is knowing how to assimilate without losing who you are. Oh yeah, I'll be everything you need me to be. I was listening to she said a while ago on a podcast Angel was like, oh yeah, when I was in California, when I tell you I put on that hard Southern accent and I got tipped more. That doesn't mean when I ain't go outside I ain't rock my Afro puff, you know, and do all the things, but I knew what you needed. And I'm going to feed into that ego, because your ego is much more, is higher than your intelligence. And you don't see what I'm doing, but I know the game that I'm playing. Yeah. And so when you are playing the game, when you learn the rules of any game, most people, more often than not, you find a way to cheat it. And when you are like, are you too busy trying to fight the rules? You never get the opportunity to win. Most people that win, okay, you know what, I went in here, lost a couple times, now I see what they doing. Now I learn how to count numbers. I mean, count cards. Now, like, you have to know what the rules are to know the loopholes. Especially if you're not the one creating them. So you lose a few rounds, but in losing rounds, you see people's tails. You see what's going on.
You learn.
Mm-hmm. Don't nobody want to learn. Don't nobody want to lose. Mm. You have to lose to be able to win. The reason why all of the pilgrims that came over were losers. They lost. And so then they said, okay, we've taken the losses. We saw what they did. Now that we're starting over, let's create it in a way in which we can win. That's all life is. People creating a space for themselves to win. Learn their rules, learn their game, sneak in on the back, and call it a day.
And I think you can have, kind of changing the subject a little bit, but not really. I think you can have some, you can have a level of patriotism and still not buy into the system.
Yeah.
You know?
Let's be clear, this is our country just as much as it's anybody else.
Exactly. And it makes me think about, I had saw, although when I looked further into it, they said that it wasn't that, like, most people weren't upset about it, but I had saw that some of the people in the UK were upset because during Beyonce's Cowboy Carter tour, she does the national anthem. And I don't know, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but I think for any national anthem of any place, you would kind of either stand up or be quiet or give reference to it. Like, you don't have to, like, if they're doing the Canadian national anthem, we wouldn't have to, like, sing it or anything, but we would show respect. And so I guess they were kind of having an issue with this in the UK because it's like, well, you're in the UK doing the American national anthem, you know, and y'all got a whole bunch of shit going on over there right now, so why would you do that? But I think that you can still have a level of patriotism for your country, even if you don't like what's going on in your country, even if you're not feeding into the systems, and even if, like in Beyonce's case, you have created like a whole album that critiques and that is almost like, I'm not gonna say tearing down, but it's definitely putting a microscope on some of the bullshit. But like you said, but I'm still an American, and this is still my country just as much as it is your country.
And let's just be clear, and let's just be full clear. This is probably more my country because we built it. We built it.
Yeah.
Blood, sweat, and tears, and bodies everywhere. So, y'all, there would be no Americas,
right,
without Black people,
right,
and then there would not be more Americas continuing without immigrant people. Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna be clear. Caucasians, you built establishments. You built ways for us not to get something. You never built this. Mm-hmm. You built a way for people to not succeed. You never built anything. You built stuff to destroy. You never built anything to flourish at all. And anything that has flourished, or anybody that can move anything with anything, you're tearing it down. That's why you're tearing down the Constitution. That's why you're tearing down certain things, because I hate to tell you, hopefully it don't sound ridiculous, there was some Black people that was up in that Constitution writing up some shit. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So let's relax your mind. Let your conscience be free. I'm telling you. That's what it is. But you know. Now, I mean, the anthem, the starts thing go bad, but again, people gonna hate.
Right.
We have songs right now. People be hating all over the place.
And I think, you know, because there was a couple years ago not even a couple years ago, over Christmas, there was that big debate saying that, oh, she's spreading a nationalist propaganda. Like, just because you're showing reverence to something and homage to something, everything's not propaganda. And even if it is propaganda, like you said, we are still American people. So if I'm wearing the American flag, or if I'm, you know, referencing American culture, that's still my, like, as much as it's almost like you having an argument with somebody in your house, but y'all going to the family reunion and y'all still matching colors. Like, that ain't got, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's my business in my house.
And you gonna mind it. And you gonna respect it.
But if people looking at you like, oh, you and your husband matching, I thought y'all was beefing. We are.
And we are.
But we still came to the family reunion and matched t-shirts.
Family.
Right. And I don't know, it kind of it's interesting to me how people don't get that.
We have family. You have family members that you can't stand,
but that's still family. And I feel like that. Like I feel like
we have. It goes down to my favorite saying: we all coming from the same trunk.
Right. As much as we may dislike the things that are going on within our country, as much as we may dislike our president, as much as we have whatever going on, at the end of the day, if some shit go down, I'm from America. I'm gonna be Team USA. Like,
showing up at the Olympics, I don't be like now.
Even when it comes down to wars, like people, we're gonna fight to protect our country, as fucked up as it may be. You know what I mean? Like that's still that. I think like we say, two things can be true. I can still be patriotic
and still have my views on how fucked up it is.
Yeah. And still protect that to the sense of, to the point of, if it's nationalist, if that's what you want to call it, then it's nationalist. But I'm still going to protect a place that I feel like I am a part of.
This is all I know. This is all we know. Unfortunately, we were taken from a place that we don't know. This is, and you, maybe it's what's the thing when somebody get kidnapped and then they
Stockholm syndrome.
We might be a little Stockholm, but this is where we at. This is what we know, and I don't have time to try to figure out how to do something better somewhere else. I'm gonna deal with the beast I know.
Period. That was another great episode. With that being said,
listen. With that being all the way said, truth be told,
I feel like it was a little heavy, but happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July. Because 4th of July should be heavy.
You're right.
It should be heavy.
You're right. It is a time to reflect.
It ain't a time for just cook out. It's a time to reflect that some shit was going on.
Yeah.
I think every holiday outside of even with Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And all of these holidays is the opportunity to reflect from the negative, and then understand that we are not as far as we want to be, but we're further than. But you have to reflect, because what they say, if you don't know where you came from, baby, you don't know where you're going.
Amen.
And with that, make sure you
like, subscribe, hit the notification button, tell a friend to tell a friend.
Drop down in them comments. What y'all got going for the 4th of July? Are you talking to your children about the significance of the 4th of July, and the significance of Juneteenth, and the significance of being able to criticize a space that you also love? Because I can talk about my man all day, but baby, you can't. Okay? Hello?
We'll drink to that.